Welcome everyone. I'm the Undertaker's daughter, and I'd like to tell you a story. Ezekiel Polk McNeal was born in North Carolina in 1804. He was the grandson of Ezekiel Polk, who was also the grandfather of James K. Polk, the 11th President of the United States, which makes him a cousin to the President. Now, according to the 1830 census, he was living in North Carolina, but by the time he married Ann Williams in 1835, he was living in Hardeman County, Tennessee, and that was where the marriage took place. They settled in Bolivar, Tennessee, and in 1836, they welcomed their first and only child, a daughter they named Priscilla. She was a beautiful child who grew into a beautiful young woman, one that her parents doted on, as any parent would. But sadly enough, in 1854, Priscilla died at the age of 18. Her parents were devastated. They buried her in the family cemetery, Polk Cemetery, and then her father contacted an architect from Philadelphia named Samuel Sloan and told him of the mansion that he wanted to build for his wife. It was to be located across the street from the cemetery, and her bedroom window was to face in a direction that she could always look at her daughter's grave. Now, this was an unusual home that they built. First of all, the architect wasn't local. Second of all, most of the materials were sourced from other locations. For example, the lumber was pre-cut and shipped by barge from Cincinnati. A lot of the materials came from Europe, or imported from Europe. Even though they began the construction before the Civil War, it was not completed until about 1861 or 1862, and the architect stayed to see the project to the end. According to local history, he actually returned as a colonel with the Union Army when the city was occupied by the Union forces. And his presence here was probably the only thing that kept the house from being burned when they torched many of the other structures in the town. Ann Williams visited her daughter's grave every single day. Now, that was a little more difficult when the Union Army had occupied the town because she had to cross the Union lines. In order to do that, she received a letter, special permission that she could present, which would allow her to continue making her daily trips to the cemetery. That letter is framed and hangs in the house today, the house that still stands, the house where a bedroom still overlooks the cemetery where a beloved child was buried far too soon.